We spend our entire lives running. We are on a perpetual hunt, chasing a ghost we call satisfaction. We map out our days around habits we do not even question, convinced that the next acquisition, the next milestone, or the next purchase will finally be the one that settles the restlessness inside us. But it never does. The chase does not fulfill us. It just keeps us running until we are completely exhausted. On paper, I had one. I had the corporate title, the corner office, the impressive income, and the lifestyle everyone told me was the definition of success. But the truth? I was completely hollow. There was this massive, quiet void in my life, and I tried to patch it up the only way society taught me how, with things. Lots of things. I was spending money faster than I could make it, trying to buy my way into peace of mind. I kept telling myself, happiness is just around the corner, just after the next promotion, just inside the next box. But I was not living at all. I was just funding an illusion. We live in an era with the highest material standard of living in human history. Yet, the collective longing for more has never been more intense. From an evolutionary standpoint, human beings are wired to be restless. Tens of thousands of years ago, a relentless urge to gather, consume, and hoard was a survival mechanism. It kept us alive in harsh, unpredictable environments. But today, in a world of abundance, that ancient programming has become a glitch. It makes us like puppets pulled by invisible strings. We get an exponential rush from the first new thing. A car, a house, a gadget. But the novelty fades instantly. We adapt, we tire of it, and our brains demand the next hit. It is a biological addiction, and our entire modern environment is built to feed it. This dissatisfaction is not accidental. It has been meticulously designed, packaged, and sold to us over generations. Look around. The noise is everywhere. It is in our media, our entertainment, our daily communication, and the digital feeds we scroll through every morning. We are constantly fed a curated illusion of perfection. Glamorous, effortless lives that we naturally use as a yardstick for our own worth. The unspoken message is always the same. You are incomplete, but this product can fix you. I spent my entire 20s climbing that exact same ladder, chasing a template I did not even create. We call it the classic dream. The big house, the multiple cars, the lifestyle that signals status. But it is just a script. By the mid-1990s, consumerism went into overdrive because manufacturing became incredibly cheap. Suddenly, we had access to an unprecedented mountain of cheap goods. We bought so much that our houses could not hold it anymore. We started building massive personal storage facilities just to house the excess things we could not even look at every day. We became caretakers of our clutter, working longer hours at jobs we disliked just to pay for the space to keep it all. The concept of style was weaponized. Clothing production shifted from functional seasons to an endless, weekly cycle of artificial trends. The fast consumption model relies on making you feel outdated within 7 days. If you buy a garment and see a new line next week, the system has successfully triggered your insecurity. Millions of tons of perfectly usable goods are destroyed or discarded every single year, not because they are broken, but because their social currency has expired. We are not paying the true human or ecological cost of this production. We treat material goods as disposable symbols of status, using them to fill an emotional deficit that physical objects can never truly satisfy. My wake-up call did not happen gradually. It hit me all at once. When I was approaching 30, my mother passed away from a terminal illness, and my marriage ended in the exact same month. While my world was collapsing, I found myself walking through a massive home goods store, looking at furniture and decor, wondering what my motif was. I was asking myself what kind of espresso maker defined me as a man. Then it hit me. I was using consumerism as anesthesia. None of these objects loved me back. None of them could bring my mother back or mend my relationship. I was holding on to hundreds of books, clothes, and gadgets that served absolutely no purpose other than reminding me of what I thought I was supposed to be. I remember looking at my friend around that time, and for the first time in 20 years, he actually looked light. He looked happy. I sat him down at a local sandwich shop and asked him straight out, "Why are you so at peace?" That is when he introduced me to the concept of deliberate simplicity. Intentional living. We decided to run an experiment. We began letting go of the excess. We sold, donated, and pared down nearly 90% of our possessions. Every object left in our space had to have a clear utility or bring genuine meaning. The shift was immediate. I did not feel deprived. I felt unburdened. The physical space created mental space. I experienced a very public breaking point myself. Early in my career, I was completely driven by ambition and insecurity. I threw myself into reporting from war zones, burying the psychological trauma under a mountain of workaholism and self-medication. It eventually caught up with me in the form of a massive panic attack on live television in front of millions of viewers. That catastrophic moment forced me to stop running. It led me to examine the chaos inside my own mind. We live in a world where we are constantly pulled from one digital stimulus to the next, chasing the next notification, the next validation on our phones. We check our devices hundreds of times a day, operating in a constant state of low-frequency anxiety and distraction. We think we are staying connected, but we are actually checked out of our own lives. The antidote to a life of overwhelming noise is not complex. It requires the willingness to turn it off. I started practicing basic mental stillness. Meditation. It was not about finding enlightenment. It was about practical sanity. It taught me to look at my thoughts without being hijacked by them. When you spend your life worrying, you tell yourself that your anxiety is your competitive edge. But most of it is just useless rumination that makes you miserable. When you learn to sit quietly and just anchor yourself in the present moment, you realize that you do not need the external world to constantly validate or stimulate you. You can be content just breathing. People assume that living with less means you have to become a recluse or live like a monk. But it is not about absolute deprivation. It is about eliminating the compulsory consumption. It is about stopping the automatic habit of buying things just because an advertisement told you to, or because you think it is part of the standard template for happiness. When you introduce this philosophy to a family dynamic, it changes form. You cannot make unilateral rules for a household or throw away your children's toys overnight. It becomes a beautiful exercise in compromise and communication. We noticed that our kids do not remember the lectures we give them about materialism. They watch how we live. By intentionally curating a simpler environment, we gave them a space to figure out who they actually want to be, rather than what the commercial world wants to sell them. True financial security is not about your capacity to earn more. It is about your decision to need less. When you decouple your identity from your income and your possessions, the traditional metrics of success dissolve. I used to think being wealthy meant having a six-figure salary. Now I realize that real wealth is financial freedom. The autonomy to wake up in the morning and decide exactly how to spend your day. The original promise of our collective dream was about opportunity, fairness, and community. Somewhere along the line, we traded that ideal for a mountain of cheap goods and isolated lives. We travel around now, sharing this perspective not to convert anyone, but to offer an alternative recipe. Every time we speak to a room full of people, we see the exact same thing, a deep, underlying desire for meaning. People are tired of the clutter. They are tired of the stress, the debt, and the superficial noise. They want their time back. They want their relationships back. Minimalism is not about creating a perfect life, and it is certainly not a magic fix. It is simply a tool to stop the madness. It is a way of looking at your life, your choices, your relationships, and your spending, and asking one honest question: is this adding real value? When that question stops being abstract philosophy and becomes the foundation of how you live, everything changes. If there is one core truth to take away from our journey, it is this: love people and use things. Because the opposite never works.